Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing A Small Light. So, before I head into my thoughts and feelings on A Small Light, a quick disclaimer. This is a television show based off of history, and from what I was kind of gathering from this show, a lot of what was going on is fairly accurate, so I don't really consider history to be any sort of spoiler. So yeah, that being said, if you still want to go into this show not totally aware of every little detail going on, you might want to stay clear of this video and come back at a later point. But like I said, I don't consider history to be a spoiler. And yeah, if people died, because for the most part every single person on here is a real historical person, I will definitely be talking about their deaths and whatnot, most likely. So yeah, kind of just judge how you are when it comes to history, what you consider a spoiler, what you don't consider a spoiler. Come back if you want, or stick around. So yeah, let's get going about my thoughts and my feelings, my feels, you guys, for A Small Light. So if you are not aware of what this show even is, because I feel like it just came out of nowhere, I literally did not find out about this show until the day before it came out. I feel like there was absolutely no promotion for it, no advertising, which is an absolute shame, because this is seriously an amazing show, I think. And every year I've been doing like my top favorite historical fiction based shows that I watch. This show is seriously going to probably be pretty close up to the top of my favorite historical fiction shows of the year, and I am not exaggerating, you guys. That's how much I just absolutely loved this show. But yeah, if you don't know what this show is about, this is an 8-episode miniseries, not intended to go on for any more seasons, I do not think. 8 episodes on Disney Plus. And let me read off my notes here. It follows the story of Miep Gies, who risked her life to shelter the Frank family from the Nazis for 2 years during World War II. So yeah, all that stuff right there. Anne Frank, her family, and all the people that were hiding with her. And I think, unfortunately, we all know where that's going. And so that definitely lends a bit of a kind of a sadness throughout the entire viewing experience, you know. But yeah, we'll kind of talk about some of the themes and messages and metaphors, I guess, of this show, that despite you having knowledge in advance that everybody is going to die, I don't think this is a show that's supposed to be about, you know, like death and sadness. You know, I think there's a lot more that we're supposed to take away from this show at the end of the day. But like I said, I'll kind of get to that. But yeah, like I said, guys, probably one of the best historical fiction period pieces that I've watched all year so far, and I've watched a lot of it, let's be real. Seriously, this is just an amazingly well put together show, I think. If you have Disney Plus, I beg of you, please check out this show. Just everything about it is so wonderfully done. The historical detail is just really rich, and you can tell people put research into it. You know, everything from props, you know, settings, I mean, even just like a street corner or something, you know, an alleyway, you know, things like that. Just all sorts of stuff like that. Cars. The hair and makeup looked so exact to the time period. Seriously, the costuming, hair, makeup, just wonderfully done on this show as well. Even though we know the historical outcome of what happens to the Frank family, and that even though Miep Gies and her associates, they hid the Frank family and others, you know, they hid them for 2 years, we do know historically that they do get captured. They're all sent to concentration camps, and everybody dies except for Otto Frank. So despite knowing that tragedy, as I was saying, this show, even though there is kind of this undertone of sadness as you're kind of watching the whole thing, and you know this tragedy is coming, and you're kind of just on the edge of your seat the whole time knowing what's coming, and it's like you kind of see all the foreshadowing coming. Despite that sadness, this show ultimately is about bravery and courage and willing to make sacrifices in the name of doing what is right. Personal sacrifices, especially for the character of Meep Geese, she puts a lot of her personal life at risk. Her own life is threatened. She can be put to death for hiding Jewish people. It is, this whole show is about courage and bravery and trying to do the right thing. And uh, I also think it's also it's very heavily focused on just the simple acts of kindness at the end of the day. I think a lot of times we take kindness for granted, because I mean, even at the very end of the show, I think the very last episode, I want to say, I believe it's a conversation between Meep and her husband, and I think she feels just terrible about what's happened, and she feels like she has failed the Frank family and the people that were with them. And I think it's her husband who says something about, you showed kindness when others didn't, and that's kind of what matters at the end of the day. It's the willingness to do kindness, to do everyday kind acts, that I think is true courage and true bravery, especially during this time period with the Nazi occupation and whatnot. And the thing with kindness is something that we can control. It's something we can control when there's other elements going on around in our life that we can't control. But we can control kindness. You may not be able to control politics. You may not be able to control healthcare. You may not be able to control this and that. But you can control kindness. You can control your willingness to help others in need, and that's what this entire show boils down to, I think, at its heart and core. And it's also a show that is just so very heavily, very much about hope at the end of the day. Even though we, the viewer, know exactly the tragedy that is coming for all the people that are being hidden by Meep Geese and her associates, even though we know this tragedy is coming, the thing is, the characters themselves, they don't know that tragedy is coming. They have no idea it's coming, but they still have that hope and that willingness to think ahead to the future as best they can. They don't see death coming. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about, okay, once we get away from here, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be. So it is at its core as well. Not only is this show about kindness, it's also definitely about hope. And that's very much what I think Anne Frank's diary is all about. Her diary is all about resilience and hope and dreaming of a future, a better future, And so because even though the story of Anne Frank and her family and the people that were with her, even though all of that is just so terribly sad and upsetting and tragic, I think sometimes I think it's very easy to kind of linger onto that tragedy, when instead what we really need to focus on is the fact of, hey, here was this young girl that, despite being in this horrible circumstance, she was sitting here writing her diary and pouring out her heart and her feelings, and she still had hope and resilience at the end of the day. And I think that's something we always need to just carry into our own lives, even when we have bad days and we have tragic days and things are not going the way we want them to, or we're facing death or whatever, still in our everyday lives we need to have hope and resilience in our own everyday lives. And that's once again at the core, I think, of Anne Frank's diary, kind of the message that is there. And that's what this show is. I think that this show is not about the tragedy of what's going to happen to all these people. It's not about that. It's about hope and kindness and dreaming of a better future when shitty things like this possibly will go away and never happen again. So all of that kind of being done, I do want to kind of just touch down the list of cast here really quickly, just some highlights. Playing the main character of Meep Geese is Belle Powley. She is definitely your main focal point character. Yeah, even though we have characters like the Frank family and Anne Frank and whatnot, they are actually really supporting characters in this narrative. This is truly Meep's story, and yeah, it's a story that needs to be told, because I don't think a lot of people are entirely 100% aware of kind of the whole situation that was going on here. You know, everybody is very much familiar with the fact that Anne Frank and her family and their friends and whatnot, everyone's aware that they all went and hid, but yeah, I don't think a lot of people are very familiar with the people who were actually helping them and hiding them, and yeah, the risks and chances that they were taking with their own personal lives in order to help these people, you know. So yeah, Bill Powley as Meepies, she is definitely your central focus point character. She is the whole crutch of this show. I think every emotional thing that's going down, you gotta sympathize with her and understand her. And seriously, Belle Powley's performance just absolutely remarkable, you guys. I really hope, seriously, when like award season comes around and whatnot, I would absolutely love if Belle Powley got nominated, because she had to do so much with this performance and everything. The character of Meep Geese, as she's presented in this show, Meep is a young woman who's very passionate. She kind of gets a temper very quickly. She can get prone to anger really quickly. She's just very passionate about justice and doing the right thing and whatnot. She's definitely not a like a selfish person by any means. I don't think she's always, I think, thinking of others a lot of times before she thinks about herself. And one of Meep's traits that I just absolutely adored about her is that because she is so passionate and she's very quick to a temper and anger and whatnot, it's like I always love that she would just kind of just, here'd be a Nazi over here. She just sit there and just straight up just start telling this Nazi guy just her entire freaking mind, and it's like, girl, chill. This guy's gonna either kill you or put you in jail. Be chill for a second here. It's like you love how passionate she is about certain things, but yeah, when she's passionate, but it's in front of the wrong people, she needs to rein back and hold back a little bit. But it's like I love that about her, that she doesn't care at the end of the day. You know, if something's upsetting her, if something's disturbing her, she's gonna let you know, and she's gonna let you know quick. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, a character flaw as well, because she has a really hard time of knowing when exactly to be passionate. You know, like I said, there's like a room full of Nazis and she has like an outburst, a crazy outburst, and it's like, girl, not here in this room of these people. And then playing her husband is Jan Geese, played by Joe Cole. I loved his performance as well. He's definitely kind of almost sort of an opposite of Meep. Like I said, Meep is really spontaneous and quick to outburst, and she's very passionate. And yeah, her husband Jan, he's passionate too, but he's much more of a laid back, chill, relaxed guy. You know, he knows how to kind of read a room. You know, he knows when he needs to speak. He's very quiet, a little timid sometimes. But yeah, what he and his wife have in common is definitely, hey, we're standing up for the little guy. We're doing the right thing no matter what, even if it means risking our own life and limb. If we die, at least we'll know we have done something to at least help at the end of the day. So yeah, even Meep and Jan's personalities are kind of wildly different on occasion, it's like opposites attract, you know. It's like they still share that commonality of their passion for justice and doing the right thing. And then playing Otto Frank, we have Liev Schreiber, probably the biggest celebrity in this cast. I think Liev Schreiber. I really loved his performance as Otto Frank. It's really kind of subtle and subdued sometimes, and the way Liev Schreiber kind of has Otto Frank, he's very kind of quiet and he really internalizes a lot of stuff, but every so often you'll see just stuff boiling and building in him, and then those are the kind of those moments when Liev Schreiber will like kind of just let it out, and he'll kind of have an outburst and shout, you know, and then he kind of just kind of calms down, like, oh, I can't believe I just shouted that out, but it feels good to let that out, you know. I really love Liev Schreiber's performance, especially just as we're getting to some of those ending episodes. And like I said, Otto Frank is the sole survivor of everybody that comes out of the attic and whatnot, and yeah, like I said, his performance is really subtle, and he does a lot with sometimes when he doesn't even have no dialogue. And you can definitely see that in, I think definitely like that last episode, when he comes back from, after the war is over and he reunites with Jan and Meep. Yeah, Liam Sharp's performance just in that episode alone is just so spectacular and whew, heartbreaking. Yeah, guys, I definitely was brought to tears numerous times in that final episode because of him. And then playing Anne Frank and Margot Frank, we have Billy Boyette and Ashley Brooke. Dear God, these girls look like they were sisters. They genuinely look like they were related. And especially Margot. Margot especially really looks like the photos. The actress who played Margot, she especially looked like the real Margot Frank and whatnot. It was just so uncanny how almost exact she looked to the real Margot Frank. I really loved Anne and Margot Frank, the actresses. I was looking at their IMDb pages. I don't think these girls have really done anything else. This is kind of their earliest roles. And yeah, spectacular performances from these two young actresses. I really hope their careers kind of take off from this. Yeah, I liked what Billy Boyette was doing with Anne Frank. Anne kind of being just this kind of a little bit of a spunky, wild teenager. She doesn't want to be holed up in this attic. She wants to get out there. She wants to go have friends, and she wants to flirt with guys, have fun, be a girl. And yeah, here she is just stuck in here, with all these people, and they can't go anywhere, and they gotta be quiet, and her sole confidant is her diary. Yeah, guys. I really love what Billy Boyette did with this performance, and I really loved how Meep was kind of integrated into Anne's story as well, like the two of them. I don't know how historically accurate this was, but the way the show has this, that Anne and Meep kind of really had a pretty close relationship, it almost seems like. And yeah, Meep gives Anne like a pair of shoes and a dress at one point. I have no idea if that's entirely historically accurate, but yeah, kind of the whole metaphor there at the end of the day, because yeah, Meep is giving Anne these really grown-up woman shoes and this grown-up woman dress, and that's kind of the sad thing as you're watching that scene when Anne puts on those high heels and that red dress, that here's a little girl who's always going to remain a little girl. She's never going to get to become a grown adult woman, and it's really sad when you're watching that scene. And then we have the Van Pels family, played by Andy Nyman, Caroline Cates, and Rudy Goodman. And yeah, that's Herman, Augusta, and Peter Van Pels. I really liked this trio of characters. The show didn't really do too terribly much with these characters, I don't think. They would kind of have their moments. A lot of times I felt like they were kind of there for a little bit of levity and comedic effect at times more than anything. But I thought their performances were wonderful as well, much needed in this narrative. One of my personal favorite characters was the character of Dr. Pfeffer, played by Noah Taylor. I just adore Noah Taylor in general, you guys. I adore him. He's so good at either playing just a pure good guy, or he's really good at playing a villain, or in the case of Dr. Pfeffer, he's really good at kind of playing a guy who's a bit of a curmudgeon. Yeah, Dr. Pfeffer, he's a Jewish dentist, and he kind of comes into this whole thing, a little late, because he's not there immediately with the Frank family. But yeah, Noah Taylor was wonderful in this role. I love that whole thing with his fiance and how Meep was helping him there. That brought me to tears there in that episode as well, with the fiance coming, you guys. Oh my goodness. And then playing Meep's co-workers, we have Kleinman Beep, I think, and Kugler, and played by Ian McElhinney, Sally Messam, and Nicholas Burns. I loved all of these characters as well. Once again, these characters don't have too terribly much to do until literally like the final 2 episodes. They get focused on a lot more. But yeah, I loved their role and function in the narrative and how they were helping Meep, because it's not just Meep and Jan who are risking their lives doing things. It's Otto Frank's employees in on this entire situation as well, risking their own lives. They could be put to death as well for hiding everybody. But yeah, I love that set of characters. Wonderful. I need to give a shout out here real quick to Eleanor Tomlinson, who plays Meep's friend Tess. I'm not quite sure if Tess is a real character or if she's a historical character or a fictional character. I'm honestly not quite sure, but I still loved the role that Tess's character played in this, like thematically, you know. But yeah, I do want to give it a shout out to Eleanor Tomlinson. I am an Eleanor Tomlinson fangirl, yeah, guys. Y'all know me. One of my favorite historical period drama shows is Poldark. And Eleanor Tomlinson was the main character of Demelza in that show, so I completely freaking adore Eleanor Tomlinson. I feel like other people watching this show probably had no idea who the hell Eleanor Tomlinson is. But yeah, I was like, oh goody. Seriously, I am a fangirl of hers, okay? I kid you not. But yeah, I really liked the character of Tess. Like I said, what she served thematically and whatnot. Because here we have Meep and Tess, who have been like friends for a long time, it seems like, but their paths, because of this war, their paths kind of start going into different directions. Meep, as I said, she's very passionate about doing the right thing and justice and whatnot. And Tess, in the meantime, Tess, she's not a bad person. Let's put it that way. Tess is definitely not a bad person at all. It's all about self-preservation, you know, and that's what Tess's character is. I think Tess is supposed to kind of be this amalgamation of just probably the good majority of citizens during this time period. That there were a lot of people who probably definitely did not like what the Nazis were doing, but I think a lot of people had the attitude of, well, what can I do? I'm just me. I'm just little old me. What the hell can I do? You know? And that's Tessa's role in this story. She is kind of supposed to be, I think, this large representation of the public at large, the public who knows that there's bad things going on, but what can we do? You know? At the end of the day, we are all selfish human beings. That's the tragedy of humanity. We are, for the most part, very selfish and have a lot of self-preservation within us. And it's people like Meep and Jan who kind of go above and beyond that, who are not selfish, who have no idea of self-preservation, you know. That's really, right there, a small percentage of the human population, unfortunately. Most people are all about self-preservation. So I loved Tessa's function in this, and how her and Meep, you see those cracks and those fractures within their friendship. And it's unfortunate, you know, but the reality is most people during this time period were like Tess, you know. And I wish we had gone back to Tess, not just because I love Eleanor Tomlinson, but I wish we had gone back to Tess in the final episode, even if it was just one quick scene, even if there was no dialogue spoken. I would have loved to have just seen a really quick scene between Meep and Tess and kind of get an idea where their friendship and their relationship stands. Like, after that party that Meep and Jan went to, is their relationship just completely fraught and fractured now? Is there no repairing that friendship, you know? So I would have loved to have seen at least one more additional scene with Tess to kind of give an idea, yeah, yes friendship or no friendship. So you guys, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for this show. I could go on and on about it for hours, seriously. I think there's just so much to talk about. There's so many talking points, I feel like. Just such a remarkable, incredibly well put together show. I highly recommend it. Like I said, if you have Disney Plus, please, I beg of you, check out this show. I think it's well worth your time. I think it's very educational. This is the type of show that it's like, I hope like in middle school classes and high school classes, I really hope this is the type of thing that teachers will show students, you know, because it's very educational as far as the history goes, but I think it's just very educational in the sense of, like I said, the thematic messages of the show of hope and kindness and whatnot. That's something that we need in life, you know. But yeah, I'm very curious. Have you guys seen A Small Light? Did you like it? Did you hate it? If you hated it, I'm gonna be very concerned about you. All jokes aside though, but yeah, seriously, how did you guys feel about this show? Did you like it as much as I did? Like I said, it's going up pretty high on my list of favorite historical period dramas this year, you guys. So yeah, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.